Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Goodwill Columbus Workforce Development Facebook page, our live 10 a.m. session on this morning. We'll be talking about the basics of communication. So my name is Carly Baird. I'm a career facilitator with Goodwill Columbus. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to giving you a little bit of information, maybe a few things that you hadn't thought about before in the areas of communication. If you have any questions or comments, we do have a moderator. So please drop any questions or comments you have in the box there, and they will be answered for you. Again, I'm Carly Baird with Goodwill Columbus Workforce Development. If you have not yet already, please like our page, follow our page for more updates on when we go live. We're doing live interactive sessions like this every day, Monday through Friday, and on a variety of different topics. So you can expect to see us here live every day at 10 a.m. Monday through Friday with new informative topics in the world of workforce development, job readiness, communication, searching for jobs, applying for jobs, interviewing, a variety of different things. Also, if you are looking for more one-on-one attention, more one-on-one support or services in your job search, in your career change, we are here at Goodwill Columbus. That's what we're here for at work in workforce development. We're here to support you in your job journey, in your career journey. So please reach out to us, send us a message, or our contact information is in the information section. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about communication. All right, communication, direly important, direly important. We have a little show here for you, so we will get this rolling. Let's talk about the basics of communication. Communication is direly important. It's what makes us human. It's what makes us able to connect. It's what makes us able to live an experience that's not solely our own. If we didn't have communication, we would be solo beings living by ourselves in our own experience with nothing to learn, nothing to gain, nothing to teach, nothing to share if we didn't have communication. So it's super important, and especially in the professional world, how you communicate, how you don't communicate, so on and so forth. So it's very important. So today we're going to be talking about what communication is, how we communicate, and why it's so important, why you should pay attention to it. So here we go. So think about your own communication skills for a moment. What does communication skills mean to you? What does communication mean to you? How many ways are there to communicate? Have you thought about that before? There's a variety of different ways to communicate. Have you thought about how many ways there are? And do you believe that you're a good communicator? What would the people around you say about your communication? Your loved ones, your peers at work, your friends, your family. What might they say about your communication? I wonder, how would they rank your communication skills, and how would you rank your communication skills? It might be a good thing to get feedback from the people around you. Is to rate your communication skills and get feedback, because that's how we grow and that's how we learn new things, how we see things that we don't see for ourselves. So what is communication? What are communication skills? As you can see here, communication is simply the act of transferring information from one place, person, or group to another. Every communication involves at least one sender, a message, and a recipient. This may sound simple, but communication is actually a very complex subject. Communication skills are abilities you use when giving and receiving different kinds of information. Communication skills involve listening, speaking, observing, and empathizing. There's a lot of different elements to communication. And the crazy thing is that we don't realize all of the things that impact our communication. And we'll talk more about that. Forms of communication: spoken or verbal communication, face-to-face, telephone, radio, or television, and other media. Spoken or verbal communication. So what I'm doing right now, right? Spoken or verbal communication, the words that are coming out of my mouth. Now, nonverbal communication, on the other hand, are the nonverbals, the body language, gestures, how we dress or act, and even our scent. Isn't that wild? But there's a lot to be said in what we don't say. a large portion of our communication is through nonverbals. So think about that. Somebody once said that people don't always remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. And that encompasses a variety of our verbal, how we're saying it, how we're saying the words that we're saying, and our nonverbal, and what our face looks like. If I'm saying, yeah, I'm feeling great today, my nonverbals are saying something different, right? So you want to make sure that your nonverbals are matching the verbals, that your face is matching what you're saying. Sometimes we say, tell your face. If you're so happy, tell your face you're happy, because it doesn't look like it. So think about that. Think about the facial expressions that you make and what that could be communicating to people. We also have written communication, letters, emails, books, magazines, the internet, or via other media. Written communication, we see it all over the place. Even when we're scrolling Facebook, scrolling social media, right? Written communication everywhere. It's how we're getting our points across. Visualizations are graphs, charts, maps, logos. Other visualizations can communicate messages too. Obviously, the Goodwill logo we have, or a map. You can see in that map right there. I think that's New York. I was going to say, yeah. It conveys a message just by seeing the visual images. And there's often one communication skill that is overlooked, but is super critical. What do you think that might be? I'll give you a second to guess. Anybody who's joining us live, guess what is the last form of communication, a type of communication skill that I've not mentioned yet. Be very curious. Go ahead and drop in the line while we are giving people an opportunity to drop their thoughts in the comment box. I will also share that there's a lot of things that influence our communication, and a lot of things that we don't even realize. Our past experiences influence our communication. Our past experiences and what we've witnessed, what we've experienced, what our life has been like, the people that we've interacted with. It's all taught us a lesson up until this point, and it informs everything about us, including our communication. We might make assumptions based on what someone looks like or how someone's speaking because of someone else, So, or we might make judgments, or we might jump to a conclusion in our communication because of something else. So a very important element of communication that I will share with you briefly is taking into consideration your past experiences, what you've learned, and what that might be informing your current communication. So self-awareness is important when it comes to communication. So I don't know if anybody guessed about the last communication skill, the very important communication skill, but this is a very important element that often gets overlooked. It's listening. Listening is a very, very, very important element because it allows you to avoid these biases, as I'm talking about, and avoid drawing false conclusions. It allows you to build rapport and make a connection with someone. It allows you to build trust, and it allows you to learn, because nothing is a one-way street, right? We're always learning, we're always giving, we're always teaching, we're always receiving. It's this cycle, if you will. And without listening, we cut that cycle in half. So if we're only talking, then we don't have the other things to learn through listening. And again, listening, without listening, we might make a lot of assumptions. We might make a lot of false conclusions, draw a lot of false conclusions. We're not actually hearing what the other person is talking about, is looking for. It's an incredibly important skill. So, if you haven't thought much about your listening, this would be another area to ask yourself and ask those people around you to rate your listening skills. It's a great practice to ask the people around you, how would you rate my listening skills on 1 to 10? Ask yourself, how are my listening skills 1 to 10? Here are some tips about how to be an even better listener. Something that you can practice in your everyday life is to keep your focus on the person who's speaking. So many times we're having a conversation with a person while we have our phone in front of our face. Yeah, that's a very interesting story that you told me. Wow. Mm-hmm. So, um, so very, very good thing to pay attention to. Are you focusing? You focusing on the person that you're talking to. Also, listen to understand. Don't just wait for your turn to talk. This is something that's very common. People, as they're talking, are only listening, are just waiting. You know, they think of something that the person said makes them think of something, and then all of a sudden, all they're doing is waiting for their turn to talk. Raise your hand if you've done that before. I'm sure many of us have. Because we want to get our point in. We want to get that point across. But you might have missed half of the main point. You might have missed the entire main point if you're not listening. So listen to understand. You know, I like to say, come from curiosity. Be curious to see what you can learn, to see what new you can understand about the person you're listening to. Consider that there is something you can learn from anyone. Absolutely. If you believe that, then you will find it. If you are looking for what you can learn from every individual you come in contact with, you will find something to learn for sure. And if you don't understand something, ask questions. Ask questions. Asking questions is also, a way to show that you are engaged in your listening skills. Is that you're being a generous listener? Is that you're asking questions for more information or for clarity or something like that? And don't let your mind wander. Stay in the moment. Easier said than done, but practice presence. Practice being here in the moment with the individual that you're talking to, rather than letting your mind wander. I'm guilty of that. I'll own up to that. And don't interrupt or assume that you know where the person is going to say. Very important. Don't make assumptions, period, because they end up being wrong and hurtful oftentimes. But interrupting. Imagine how you feel when someone's interrupted you before, and it feels disruptive. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like the person doesn't care what you have to say. So consider how often you interrupt other people in their talking. So these are great tips to keep in mind when you're talking about listening. This was just a nice a little session here for you today to talk about the basics of communication, why it's so important, some of the things that influence our communication, and how we can be better communicators. And that's my challenge to you, is to reflect and rate your own communication skills. Rate your communication skills, rate your listening skills, ask people around you for feedback on your communication skills. It can be a very powerful exercise when you find out. You might thought you were a great listener, and then come to find out from those that you're close to that it seems like your mind's wandering. And even if your mind is not wandering, it's important to get that feedback to know how you're showing up, because we can't see the back of our heads without a mirror. I don't know if my hair is sticking up in the back and being offensive if I don't have a mirror to give me that feedback. So please consider getting some feedback on your listening and on your communication skills, and put some of our tips into action. So again, my name is Carly Baird, and I'm with Goodwill Columbus Workforce Development. Thank you so much for joining our session this morning. Again, live sessions every day at 10 a.m. Please like our page, share this video with anyone you think might find it interesting. And thanks again for joining, everyone. Have a great day.